Hello, fellow Magic players. This is a best of 3 with my mono black deck on the left. It's mono black variant with a splash of blue and red, and it's against the Disco Trolls, who who seems to choose to mulligan at this point. We're playing with the new London mulligan rules at this point. So I think it's come into effect. I think this is the third time, perhaps, that we use for that particular day. Try to test out how it feels and what kind of hands you can decide. So couldn't quite make it out, but it seemed like he put the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of his deck. Now he starts with 6 cards. So I'm on the play, won the roll-off. I'm starting out with the Library of Alexandria. That's always a decent start, especially if the opponent can't do anything about it early. When he goes for a demonic tutor here, and he presses the turn, and I take a card at this end step with the Library of Alexandria. Puts down the Badlands. So I wonder what he should take here. He could take a Strip Mine to get rid of the Library of Alexandria. He could take a Mind Twist, especially if he has some fast mana, in order to just discard some of my cards so I get out of Library of Alexandria the range of its draw effect. Takes a long time with shuffling that deck. I think I'm waiting for him to finish before I commit to anything. I don't know why, really, but there it is. So that's a Dark Ritual. Taking another card while I can. Probably a Dreams. Yeah, that's a Dreams. That's a good opening, because I know the Disco Troll decks, he has a lot of draw engines in his deck, and he needs to use a disc to remove that Underworld Dreams. And he Strip Mines the Library of Alexandria. I presume that he tutored for that Strip Mine. It's a valid play, because if that library runs unanswered for too long, it can win games all on its own. But it's not all. I'm sure he would have loved to have something else, have an assist recall or a Mind Twist instead. I tried to sinkhole one of his lands to put him further back and let the Underworld Dreams do its work, but he chooses to counterspell my sinkhole, and I'm okay with that. If he can draw a counterspell, that's fine. So he plays a factory, and I play a defending factory. And going for Chaos Orb here. Making sure to keep a red mana untapped. Maybe to bolt, maybe to bluff that I have a bolt. That's a disc. So I suppose I should do something about that, perhaps with the Chaos Orb. As it will remove my Chaos Orb anyway. And my Underworld Dreams. So I attack with the factory, okay. And play a Time Walk. Okay. So just getting a few damage in, that's okay. Getting more stuff out, City of Brass, so I'm completely mana fixed now. And now I use the Chaos Orb on the disc. Okay, this is better work. Ooh, that was actually pretty close to a miss. It bounced on the mat, but it made its flip in the air. One half flip too many. So follow up with the Juice Gin. So unless he has a troll in hand, he will have some pretty big difficulties with blocking those demons. Now that the disc is gone. but the trolls will work wonderfully in that regard. Okay, he uses a disc instead. He only has a single blue mana source untapped. Back when the previous game against Asbjørn's disc control decks, I lost, I think, 3-0. So let's see if this is any better. Okay, that's a lightning bolt into a time twister, and with an Underworld Dreams out, that's game right there. Just needed to touch base with that Juice Gen just before. So already I'm ahead one game, and it seems to work better than the last time we met. I've also made some tweaks to my deck compared to when I met him last time. As said in a previous recording, I removed the Maze of Ith and the Brain Geyser in order to get a Solkanar the Swamp King and a Shatter in the deck. But in this particular game it didn't seem to matter, as I didn't drew any of the new cards. But I suppose a Swamp King will work pretty good against him, because he can't remove it very easily before sideboard, and he can't block it with those regenerating trolls. So I remember after the first game I tried to use my sideboard against him here, and Asbjørn still hasn't made a sideboard, so actually he hasn't sideboarded against me. So that's a pretty uneven setup at this point, but I just wanted to test my sideboard, and I told him he could take anything he wanted, but they didn't choose to. So I'm taking a single Underworld Dreams out, and some and the play set of lightning bolts out, and I've put in a couple of terrors and a couple of shatters. I also think I put in a red blast against his blue power and counter spells. Figured that the lightning bolts, well, I still had shatters against his factories. Now that I don't have the lightning bolts, and the shatters can also be used against his discs. The terrors are pretty self-explanatory, as he has a Seven Dragon, and he also has those regenerating Sedge Trolls. So he starts out with a Volcanic Island into a Mox Jet, and I have a Badlands here. Okay, and follows up with a factory, and immediately into a Sedge Troll. So I have a defending factory out. This is a very slow start for my deck. Perhaps I should have mulliganed at this point. It's always a difficult decision if you have a pretty balanced hand with enough mana. Do you dare to mulligan, or do you dare to keep it? It's not an obvious choice. So that's a Library of Alexandria, and it's 3 mana used. A Wheel of Fortune. Okay, that's a brilliant play. I used it before I can get my Underworld Dreams out, and now he's into range for his Library of Alexandria, so he can activate it. And he also has a pretty hefty card advantage, because I had to discard in a full hand. So, brilliant start. Comes the Mox Jet and a Sol Ring. It's a nice altar, and that Sol Ring. The Juice Ring. So, we play an Underground Sea. Probably a Dark Ritual, yeah. And there comes the Underworld Dreams. 1 turn too late. But at least it kind of punishes the disc control deck for using his Library of Alexandria now. Not that he won't still do it, but he's got to bleed for it now, man. It's better than nothing. And I also have a red mana untapped, so I can bolt if he ever taps out, so that he can regenerate that troll. And I can also block with the factory if I want to. Still, it's a pretty big problem that I don't have any creatures at this point, because he smacked me for 4 points of damage each turn there. Suddenly realized that there aren't any swamps on his side of the board, only a black mox, so he can still regenerate, but the troll's only 2/2. So here they come. One factory and one not fully grown sedge troll. Now what to do here? I think I should probably block the troll and then pump the factory. It would force him to use his black mana or a removal spell. And if he doesn't use a removal spell, well, then my factory survives. Okay, so he needs to use a lightning bolt on the factory, and I take 5 points of damage as he pumps the factory for 1 extra point with the other factory. So we only have 2 available lands at this point. Now 3. I'm staring down a lot of creatures here. It's another one, Underworld Dreams. Yeah, it's so well and good, but you need to draw into a Wheel of Fortune or a Time Twister here, or to have one in hand. That will kill him, but especially as he can't counterspell it. He can power sync, I suppose. But yeah, it seems like I'm going all in on the Underworld Dreams play here. It's really, really punishing him for using the Library of Alexandria and foregoing any kind of creature defense at this point. That's another troll coming out. He's a bit mana screwed though, with still no swamps in hand. So he attacks. And time walks. Oh, okay. This is pretty bad. He gets a swamp now, and all statistics should say that he should have 1 black land at this point. He's drawn so many cards. And there's 1. Okay, so now that's a +1/+1 for both the trolls, so that's actually 11 points of damage there. And then he can fireball me. So 10 points of damage. I mean, I would have been at 1 life. And he fireballs me. So that was a pretty weird situation. That I remember I felt like my deck was a bit weaker after sideboarding against him, so I sideboarded straight back for my pre-board deck. I also felt bad anyway that playing against him with a sideboarded deck when he can't sideboard because he has no sideboard. That's just an uneven match, but I wanted to test it, and I guess I learned a little bit. I learned that I've sideboarded too many cards probably. So now we're back to the pre-board deck against his pre-board deck. And it's the final match, final round of the set. So winner takes the set. But at least I've got a single win in here, so it's always better than the last set I had against this deck. It's Esbjørn's Discontrol deck. It's a really hard matchup for me. Usually. So, but I have an active library of Alexandria at this point, so there's no reason to be all sad about it. I mean, that's an excellent start. But he starts out with a time walk, and now he's probably has some defensive plays here. He has a lot of blue mana untapped. Doesn't do anything, so I start to remove his swamps. And he power sinks me. Okay. And actually, remember this situation. I have a Mind Twist in hand at this point. I don't know how many counter spells he has, but as long as he doesn't do anything, I'm assuming that he probably has answers in hand. So as long as he doesn't do anything, I'm just trying to draw out his counter spells any way I can, and then wait for him to tap his mana for some play or another, and then I can get the Mind Twist in. The only thing I really fear at this point is a draw 7. because that would just equalize everything at this point. So if he plays a Wheel of Fortune or a Time Twister, I'd be annoyed. So trying to get a Juice Engine, just testing, but he keeps on having the counter spells ready. I don't know how many he has, but I want to play cards that he has no real fast answer for, so that I'll assume that if he has a counter spell, he'll use it on things like an Underworld Dreams or a Juice Engine he can't easily remove. So we attack with the factory, and he bolts it, just keeps on having the answers. The Spectre, and he counters that as well. There was another detail here. I wanted to attack with the factory first in order to remove his lightning bolt, so that if I was lucky and he was out of lightning bolt, he had to use another counter spell to remove the Spectre. This is all just tactics in order to try to deplete his resources so I can get the Mind Twister in. That's a set stroll, and now he's tapped out. So let's see if he has something against this. I'm pretty sure this was a game where, yeah, it is. I'm pretty sure I have a Mind Twist in hand. So I should play it now. Empty his hand. That comes, yeah. Yeah, we even had a tutor. And I terrorized the troll. Okay, this is brutal. So it gets down the disc. Fair enough. But I have a huge card advantage. The only thing I fear at this point, as said, are the draw 7s. With the full hand and an activated Library of Alexandria. And after Mind Twist, that's the only thing that can really change the flow of the game. I'm sure he has discs, but I don't have any permanents he can smash with it, and I can just play like a Juice Engine or something like that, and then he'll be forced to use it. To use the disc. Let's see, I can't remember what I actually tutored for here. I think it was an Ancestral Recall, because or perhaps the Shatter? No, not the Shatter. I think it was an Ancestral Recall. Yeah, there it is. I'm doing this in order to get into range for the Library of Alexandria again, because I used up a lot of cards at this point, like Dark Rituals, Mind Twists, and the Shadow. So, playing a factory, the Summoning Sickness, and then passing the turn. Now he has a Defending Factory. I'll use the Library at his instep. Now it's just a question of getting some threats out. Preferably some that can't be bolted. As he doesn't have any Swords to Plowshares, he can only remove them with... Yeah, he can only remove Juiceums if he blocks with the factory and bolts it, or if he uses a disc. Okay, so a Dark Ritual into a Singular Vampire. I'm going really in for the kill at this point. Don't want him to have too many turns to draw outs. And there's the out. Playing a Wheel of Fortune, man. Excellent. This just made everything a whole lot more exciting. Look at all those creatures. There's a Serendipity Freed, Singular Vampire, and a Wheel of Fortune myself. So, okay, an entirely new hand for him. Let's see what he can do with it. So this equalized that Mind Twist a lot, as I just lost a full hand here, or perhaps not a full hand, but I lost 5 cards or something like that. At least 5 cards, probably 6 cards actually, because I don't think I ever played below Library of Alexandria range. Anyway, he's contemplating something here. He needs to work really fast. That's 2 big puppies right there. They can make a lot of damage if they can come in. Okay. Ah, sit in the bottle. Brutal. So that actually, yeah, that's a 2-for-1. The Juice and Gin is out, and so is the Library of Alexandria. And I didn't know at this point that he played with a City in a Bottle in his main deck. That's really evil against me. But it's a good card, and he doesn't use that many Arabian Nights cards himself. I think he plays with the Library of Alexandria and probably 3 or 4 Cities of Brass. So that's pretty evil, especially since I just used my only Shatter. But I strip mine his factory, and now I have an attack with the vampire as he strip mines my factory in return. So he's a Dark Ritual, and that's an Underworld Dreams. And Sink holding his Underground Sea. It's a bit of a risk, because I don't know if he uses Mace of Ith or anything, but I wanted to hold him back because now I really have him in a lock. So the 2 dreams, and he actually Ancestrals here. Should have done that as a response if he had the mana, I don't remember, but that brings him to 6 damage from the Underworld Dreams, and now another 2 damage from the Sonic Blast. That's a twister. Good game. So that's 14 to 16 points of damage right there. So the Mono Black took this one, 2-1. That's always rather nice, because as I said in the previous recording, Asbjørn and myself has always taking turns of beating the other guy, but lately I felt like I was running behind a bit, but with the last couple of tweaks it seemed to boost my deck a little bit at least. And then there's always the luck of the day, I suppose. So coming up is a full set with the Mono Black against the Dead Guy Skies deck. Thank you for watching.